I survived 100 days in hardcore Minecraft, and here's how. What's that? You want another take? Was that one not good enough for you? God damn it. Hi, I'm Gavin. You can call me Jay Quells. Here's the story of how I survived 100 days in hardcore Minecraft. I'm gonna be telling you about all the amazing adventures and things I got to experience along my journey. I hope you enjoy.
Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
So there I was, a brand new world. Nothing to my name, but a pretty much empty map and my right hand. I knew I had so much ahead of me, so I got right to work. Instantly, I made a wooden pickaxe and went ahead and got cobblestone because I hate wooden tools. I went ahead and made the necessary stone tools for the time being, and just like that, I'm saying goodbye to my first pickaxe of the world. And now, it's time to explore. I came across this chicken, and I decided I'd let it have the honor of being the first kill of my new adventure. This is my first time doing a hardcore world, and I was really hoping it would go well, although I was not looking forward to the stress of possibly losing my world forever. I then came across this pack of wolves, whom I was kind enough to share my food with. I then found some more chickens and decided to let them sacrifice themselves to me. After that, I found this cave and decided I can use some iron, so I headed down. I first found some coal, which I gladly grabbed, and then after only one torch, I find a little spider spawner on the other side of this wall. Like, what are the odds of that? So I lit it up and murdered them all. The loot was actually pretty good. I got a golden apple, power 3 book, and even some golden horse armor. After that, I went back out looking for some iron. When this guy showed up, luckily I've been training 19 out of the 20 years I've been alive, and he was no problem. Yes, this is a true 100% not false statement. After all that, I finally found my first iron, took care of this green dummy, and then decided I had enough of this cave. I then introduced myself to more of the wildlife. They liked me a lot, surprisingly. They must have heard how good I am with animals. After a quick snack break, I made myself some iron tools and got rid of the stone ones. Then I found this massive ravine and used my 1000 IQ to find a way down. As soon as I got down there, I was greeted by a wonderful family of zombies, who got me dangerously close to death, so I decided to leave. After a long day, I decided to go to bed, but of course, this dude had to keep me up. After dealing with him, I finally got some rest. Hey, how long do these documentaries usually take to film? Weeks? Why didn't anyone tell me that before I signed up? Did you really expect me to read the contract? Whatever, just keep filming. Day 2, I said good morning to the chickens, who were having a rough morning, so I left them alone. I then found some bees. I figured I'd take their nest for the future, but they weren't too happy about that. After that, I found this turtle who threatened to kill me with his insane speed, so before he was able to, I dealt with him. I then saw what looked to be a pillager outpost on the top of a mountain, and decided to head for it. As I got closer, I found this massive ravine in the side of the mountain, which just looked insane to me. Then this dude tried to sneak up on me, but he had a pretty cool shirt on, and he decided to give it to me. Thank God he did, because I looked pretty sick. After a bit more of caving, I was able to find some iron, which I needed because, besides my dope shirt, I was naked. After finally surfacing, I began smelting my iron, but when I tried to go to bed on the side of a cliff, I realized I was surrounded by a sniper squad. Once I noticed I was outnumbered, I just moved my bed, said goodnight to Mr. Spider, and went to bed. It was day 3, and I started fitting myself with some iron armor, and I took out the gang of thugs waiting for me at the bottom of the cliff. I gave up on that pillager outpost. I figured I should prepare a little bit more before attempting to take them over. I began clearing out some space for a starter home when I saw this skeleton get struck by lightning. I guess you could say the gods are watching out for me. After dealing with him and his friends, I was then attacked by a spider and this fearless green dummy, which was no problem for me. I quickly realized that I was gonna need a house soon because living outdoors was not cutting it. So I did what any reasonable person does when they need shelter and began deforestation. Then I burrowed underground like a little mole and gathered some cobblestone. After resurfacing, I was once again attacked, but luckily this green idiot decided to help me out. I'd had enough for today and decided to go to bed. We take a quick break. I really need some water. I don't care that we're almost done. I'm thirsty. Ugh, fine. Day 4, I spent mostly just building the house. I really wanted to get this thing done. I was done sleeping outside like a peasant. Now this house was just temporary, just to give me somewhere to keep all my stuff for now. But even so, I still wanted to give it a little bit of detail, so I added some fences and trapdoors to give it a bit of texture. Day 5, I started off adding a roof to this thing, so it didn't look like a box. This roof took me most of the day because I kept running out of materials. After some more detailing to the outside, it was pretty much done. Well, not fully. I planned on adding some more things as time goes on, like these windows I added. I ended off the day running around collecting seeds for a farm in the future. Then I watched the sunset on a grateful universe and went to bed. So it was day 6, and I really wanted to go mining because without diamonds, you're a nobody. But as soon as I got into the cave, I realized I had no wood to make more tools and even a crafting table to make those tools on. So I took my ashamed self and left. After gathering some wood, I decided I was too embarrassed to show my face in the original cave, so I ran out to find a new one. And I found one pretty quickly. But as I was mining, some construction worker tried sneaking up behind me, and that's when I realized this cave was absolutely riddled, so I decided to run away. After a very rough day 6, I just went to bed. Day 7, and once again I was back out exploring for another cave. As soon as I found one, it was right to work. I've had too many failures so far, and I needed something to go my way. And of course, I was attacked by a mob of zombies, but I wasn't about to give up on this cave. The rest of day 7 was spent mostly mining and fighting mobs, and mining. Then out of absolutely nowhere, an Enderman and his gang of jerks started attacking me. I had no idea why this Enderman was mad. He must have been friends with one of the zombies I killed earlier. Either way, they had me down to a half a heart. Luckily, I somehow fell into this hole where they couldn't reach me. Then on day 8, I finally found diamonds. Well, actually, it was just a diamond. It was literally 1 diamond. Day 9 was mostly spent mining, looking for more diamonds, but all I found were these speckled freaks. Day 10, I started making my way back home after a disaster of a mining trip, and that's when I had fear struck into my heart. I noticed this skeleton horse while running home, and with a flash of lightning, it turned into a cavalry of armed snipers who nearly took me out. But being the 5-head person I am, I was able to build a wall really quick and make my getaway. I then found bees, and they asked me to help move their hive, but when I did, they got mad for some reason, so I just ran off. I don't understand, I'm just trying to help out, and these bees are just ungrateful. When I finally reached home, I began smelting my iron, but I realized I had 0 coal. Yep, I'm an idiot. So instead of dealing with my problems, I did what any normal person does and put it aside for later, and began working on a farm. While farming, I noticed some mobs starting to spawn, and I just went to bed. Day 11, I started off the day continuing the farm so I could have a steady source of food. Then this dude showed up and tried to push his political views on me. So I told him that's not nice. Like, no, I don't want to vote for villager rights. I then set out to partake in everybody's favorite activity, deforestation. Gave his chicken a high five, and began. I needed wood so I could make some charcoal for now, and also I'll admit, I hate my house. I have an idea of what I want to do to make it better, so I also went mining to get some cobblestone, to ensure I have all the materials I'm going to need. Day 12, and I began strip mining, hoping I could find some diamonds. But while mining, I found this massive ravine, and while trying to look around, I had an airstrike dropped on top of me. But luckily, my bomb-proof shield stopped it from hurting me. And now came the worst part of strip mining, having to climb all the way back up the stairs. God, I'm winded just thinking about that. Day 13, I aimlessly explored the world, hoping to find a spruce biome. But after completely wasting my time running and boating and running and boating, I had found nothing. But on day 14, I came across one of the most beautiful villages I've ever seen on the top of the mountain. It was just gorgeous with all the flowers and animals, so I began ransacking the whole village. I figured they had enough food and would be okay with sharing. But despite it being a very pleasing looking village, they had the worst loot ever. Day 15, I found my way back home. I was finally able to find some coal in a cave near the village, so that's a plus, I guess. I finished off the day building a temporary animal pen, but I was only able to find 1 cow and 1 sheep. So unless I wanted to create some kind of genetic mutant, I was gonna have to find some more animals. The last 15 days have been unacceptable. Between our poverty-looking house and our diamond count of literally 1, we were off to a slow start. So I put my head down and went to work. I started by gathering all the tools I needed for a mining trip and headed out. And boom, with a little bit of hard work, we finally found some more diamonds. But this was just the start. And on the morning of day 19, I returned after a long, hard trip underground, and I found 17 more diamonds. I made myself a pickaxe, sword, a chest plate, and a helmet. I began expanding the farms. I was going to need a more stable source of food, and now that I'm going to be around the house more, it was a good time to grow the farm. I was finally able to find some more animals to breed, and things really started looking up. I then saw some pillagers visiting from the outpost on the top of the mountain, and I greeted them with open arms. After that, I had some confidence. I decided to stay out for the night killing mobs. I needed the bone meal anyway for the farms. And once again, the government was sending their propaganda speakers to my land to try and convince me that villagers deserve higher pay. What a stupid idea. Day 20, I began going around shearing sheep so I could make beds. I needed them for when I go netherite mining, which of course, to even go netherite mining, you have to be in the nether. So I gathered some obsidian for a future portal. Day 21 was spent gathering as much wood as possible for the upcoming build. I made sure to grab as much as I could because I hate having to go out for materials during the middle of a build. Day 22 was spent doing the same, but this time for cobblestone. Day 23, I cleared out an area for the house. The next 4 days was spent building the home. I wanted to give it as much depth and detail as possible, so it doesn't seem like your typical Minecraft house. I wasn't the best builder, so bear with me here. There were countless moments of me questioning my math and having to move entire walls multiple times, but we got through it. I still have to add some more things like glowstone and lanterns, but we could do that in the future. And here it is, the final build. Well, sorta. Like I said, it needs some final details, but for the time being, it was good. And I know what you're thinking, it's kinda small on the inside, but I only plan on using the upstairs for my bed and some furnaces. Downstairs is where I keep the mobs, I guess? Anyway, downstairs will be where all the storage goes, along with enchanting area and nether portal. So I'm gonna be clearing this out soon. I finished off day 27 tending to the animals. Some even tried to run away from their lovely home. They tried to run away. Disclaimer, if you're wondering why my champ points are going up and down, I'm just now realizing people are going to think it's weird. My levels are all over the place. I'm doing an interactive thing with my TikTok that involves using my enchant points. That's all I'm going to say. You'll find out more at the end of the 100 days. Okay guys, whose dog is this? Can we at least try to keep this professional? Day 28, I spent more so just tending to the farms. Day 29 is where it got interesting. It was time I took on the nether. I needed blaze rods and nether wart, so it was time to go in. My spawn was not the greatest whatsoever, but we worked with it. After greeting the locals and much time spent searching for a fortress, I finally found one. I had to fight my way in, but I pretty much instantly found a blaze spawner. I sat there and farmed blazes till I was comfortable with the amount of blaze rods I had collected. I spent some more time running around looting some chests, and of course it doesn't come without its battles. I did manage to find 3 diamonds, so that was pretty cool. But after some running around, I figured it was probably a better idea just to go home. I returned on day 31 and began dropping everything off into my disaster of chests. I then saw this man holding a trident and politely asked for it, but he said no. I said please. Later that day, I once again silenced the government propaganda. Day 32, I woke up and got right to work on building an actual farm. Not the eyesore that I had going on here. I wanted to go for a look that would match the house, and these stone walls with wood slabs did the job. And I thought they looked pretty cool. It's day 33, and it was time to give my whole base a makeover. It was messy, unorganized, and just straight up ugly. I feel like we've done enough time lapses lately, so I'm just going to show you the final product. Now this is what I'm talking about. So I added some lighting to the crops area and made this wonderful path leading through, which leads us right to the house, where I finally added some glowstone. Then out front of the house, I built this water fountain. I don't really know why, but I did. Then as the path continues, it brings you right over to the new and improved animal area. Now they're all in a mosh pit together. It was day 38 and I need to make the full move into my new house. So that means I had to finish the basement. I started off by clearing it out and then began placing the walls and floors. I went with this polished deep slate and deep slate bricks pattern, and I really liked it. Day 39, I continued the build by adding the ceiling, in which I used smooth stone slabs for. I knew I was going to need to start enchanting soon, so I started collecting some sugarcane. I then had to move this nether portal, which was so much fun. I saw this pig and he told me how good my sword looked, so I gave him a closer look. Day 40, I dug out an area in the basement for the enchantment table to go. I wanted to have a cool spot for enchantments, and I thought by lowering it into the ground, it would look pretty nice. The rest of the day, I just continued with the ceiling and tending to the animals. Day 41, I was approached by a government speaker again. This time he talked about how pillagers need to be held more accountable for their actions, which I kinda agreed with, but still, got rid of him just to be safe. Then I headed out to gather some more wood, and while doing so, I just needed to let off some steam. These hardcore days were really getting to me, and I just had to let it out. So I took it out on these animals. I'm sure they understand. Okay guys, I thought this was a judge-free zone. Day 42, I placed another portal and began adding storage chests. While out getting wood, I noticed a brown sheep. I forget if these guys were rare or not, but either way I killed it and kept its wool. After adding the final chest, the basement was done. Day 43, I grabbed all the crops I had and went over to the village. I really needed to get villagers to start working for me, because I need librarians for an enchantment book. I found my first victims, business partner, and began the painful process of trying to get a good trade from him. After a little while, I got a Silk Touch book, which I'll take. Day 44, I went home to grab some crops for trading, and then went right back to the re-rolling jobs. Not too long after, I got a mending trade. Day 45, I realized I was going to need to start breeding villagers so I can have more business partners. So I began building them a lovely shelter where the villagers can start new families. I then brought them on a magical cruise to their new home. Then I discovered my mistake. I realized on day 46, since I had moved the villagers, I had moved their workstations, but since I didn't make any trades yet, my 2 villagers lost their trade. So it was back to re-rolling jobs. Luckily, I was able to get a mending and fortune trade. After that, started the children making process. And by the morning of day 47, I had successfully helped birth a future child laborer, business partner. I needed them so I could start making stick trades and start my global economic powerhouse. I started day 48 with some villager trading. I was finally able to buy some fortune books. I've been wanting those books so I can go mining for diamonds. I didn't want to come back with 1 diamond again. So on day 49, I got fortune 2 on my pickaxe and headed out. And to my surprise, not too long after I started mining, I found some diamonds. I only ended up finding 1 more vein of diamonds, but with the fortune, I was able to come out with 22 diamonds in total, which I used to make myself some diamond pants. Day 50, I decided to try and do some netherite mining, so I gathered all my beds and went to the nether. I was able to find a piece of netherite fairly quickly, but I can't say the same for the rest of the trip. Yeah, it's safe to say I stuck with diamond for a little bit longer. Day 51, I spent smelting materials I was going to need for my next build. I wanted an area for brewing potions and smelting ores. While waiting on that stuff, I continued building up my enchantment area with more bookshelves. The next day, I went out for more cobblestone for the build, and then cut down some trees for the fuel for furnace, since coal was the rarest item in my world. Days 52 through 54, I spent building the brewery / smelting area. I went for an older style tower. I used a mixture of stone and deep slate and different variations of each of it to build this. Now while we wait for this time lapse to finish, here's a fun fact. Did you know the unicorn is actually the national animal of Scotland? I didn't even know those things actually existed. I thought they were just like a fairy tale. And here's the final build. I'm really happy with it. Day 55, I stopped procrastinating and began moving all the garbage over to the new house. Yeah, I'm insane. Didn't lose a single heart. Just like that, I'm saying goodbye to my first house. It was kind of sad. Not really, that place was an absolute dump. I spent days 56 through 59 mining for coal and iron. I was super low on both of these, and I had some things in mind I wanted to do, and it required these items. So while we watch this time lapse, let's get into some more fun facts. About 94% of Earth's wildlife is found in the ocean. The ocean provides more than half of the oxygen we breathe. If you held your breath long enough underwater, you can actually grow gills and live underwater. If you spend an hour a day in the water, you will slowly learn how to speak whale. Listen guys, I know these might sound fake, but they're not. Trust me. Humans can survive 8 to 21 days without food or water. In my opinion, that's just the amount of days someone who tried to go without food or water survived. I bet if I really tried, I can beat 21 days. Overall, it was a pretty good haul. I found a couple of stacks of iron and a bunch of coal. I even found some diamonds. Day 60, I began building the auto smelters. I was going just for a basic setup, something I can drop my things off at and forget about it. Then I ended the day with my favorite thing, turning all my lovely animals into dinner. On days 61 through 63, I spent building a dirt bridge. And I bet you're wondering, why would I randomly just decide to build a dirt bridge? Well, it was time for everyone's favorite part of Minecraft, dealing with villagers. I wanted this bridge so I can drive the villagers from the village right to my base. But we both know it's never that easy. Of course, I just had to try this idea at night, so there were mobs to fight. After getting a villager in a boat, a zombie thought there was room for him as well. There wasn't. And finally, I was off to the base. Well, I thought it was, but this creeper had other plans, and he suffocated me and the villager into a wall. While trying to figure out how to get the villager back on the path, I realized all my other villagers had gotten out. Villagers are just the best, aren't they? I managed to punch one back into the dirt box, but the others I had to let go for now. Then this baby villager thought he was funny. He was not. So I taught him a valuable lesson. I feel like Mojang gets a good laugh out of everyone dealing with their villagers. Everything about Minecraft is amazing. I love it. But when it comes to villagers, you just want to smash your head through a wall. They love to do exactly the opposite of what you want them to do. And they also love to pick and choose which workstation they like. But finally, after all the stress, I was finally able to get villagers back to the base. I spent all of day 64 trying to get these villagers to breed. I even gave them 11 loaves of bread, but they still refused. Oh, and I tamed this donkey. Day 65, I spent just gathering wood. I had other plans for a villager trading hall, and once they actually breed, I can build it. Then while running home, I saw the most insane thing. Lightning struck one of my poor chickens. And when I went to go check on him, all that was left was a delicious piece of chicken. So in his honor, I ate it. Day 66, I went back to chopping down some trees. I know a lot of people like strip mining, but for me, I love gathering wood. Something about it is just amazing. Then I went back to check out my villagers, and out of nowhere, I had 2 more villagers. They must have finally done the deed and produced more friends. Yeah. Definitely friends and not my unpaid workers. It was day 66, and since the villagers got to doing their thing, I began gathering materials for some curing stations. The purpose of these was so I can seem like a hero to the villagers and they would give me cheaper trade. Until on day 67, I constructed these machines. Well, I guess they were less machines and more death traps, but either one works. Then came the fun of trying to get the villagers to the spots. Luckily, with very little struggle, I made it happen. Day 68, I started making potions, and like an idiot, I made poison potions, realizing I needed fermented spider eye and not just normal spider eye for weakness potions. But it was then nighttime. I wanted to trap some zombies in my curing station. And once again, like an idiot, I broke this block, letting a villager free. I trapped him in some dirt and decided to worry about him later. And not without getting punched in the face by zombies, I finally got them trapped. Day 69, grow up. I made the 2 new villagers Fletchers so I can abuse their stick trades, and then began the curing process. The villagers loved me. They started chanting my name and started calling me a hero, but I told them it's all a day's work. And that's when I noticed this hole in my villager area, and the new baby villager was missing. I found him trying to escape his wonderful life I was giving him, so I built my version of the Underground Railroad and got him back inside. That is until on day 70 I realized he escaped again, and this time he helped break out his friend. So I trapped him in some dirt and pushed it off till later. I then began making my first trades with the Fletchers. Later that night, I was finally able to put the children to bed. I also woke up the mending villager and bought a couple mending books. This is the start of the creation of my super armor that I'll use to defeat the dragon. Day 71, I began gathering materials I needed for a kelp XP farm. It's basically just a farm that creates unlimited kelp and cooks it all, storing the levels. Then I just take it out and boom, XP. I began clearing out some space for this thing to go. Day 72, I got to work on the actual machine, and while it was an easy build, I'm also very dumb and had to run around for all the missing items I needed for the farm. Day 73, I finished the farm, and as you can see, it actually works, which surprised me because usually I suck at these kinds of builds. While I let that run, I did some more trading with the villagers, and I finished off the day with tending to my crops. Day 74, I gave the 2 new villagers jobs. I made the first one a librarian, which I instantly got into a fight about which books I wanted, but after a while, he finally gave me a decent book in efficiency 4. I made the other villager a toolsmith in hopes he'd sell me some good tools eventually. I went back to trading and then noticed my farmer now accepts pumpkins, so I planted the pumpkin seeds that I've had. Then I checked on my kelp farm and realized it was basically overflowing because there was no more coal left, and I wanted to stack it up a little bit more before I took the XP out. So on day 75, I set out on a mining adventure. Right before I left, I added mending and fortune 3 to my pickaxe, which made the trip that much easier. I was able to find loads of coal and iron, which was perfect because I was low on both of these since I just built that farm. I returned just in time to see the sunrise. Day 76 76, I realized my kelp farm was not as effective as it used to be. So I basically just wasted all that time. I know, I'm stupid. But I remembered I had the spawner right below my house. So I turned it from this to this. It's not the best, but it's something. I spent most of the day running back and forth doing some trading with the villagers and some XP farming. Oh yeah, and this tunnel to get up from the farm is dangerously wrong. That's what she said. But after some time, my villagers finally decided to make me more workers, and I had 3 new villagers. My plan was to make them all librarians because I needed certain books. Day 77, I kept expanding the pumpkin farm. At this point, I needed them less for trades and more so to assert myself as the pumpkin king. I've seen some rival melon farmers out there, and I had to let them know that pumpkins were on top. I also then used the kelp from the kelp farm to make dried kelp blocks because I can use it as a fuel source. Fun fact, it's actually a better fuel source than coal. Now I basically have unlimited fuel, and now I can use my coal to make torches so I can light everything up. I saw this father and son playing with bones, which I thought was kind of weird, but good for them. While continuing to light everything up, I ran across another government speaker. I've been so busy lately, I hadn't had time to talk to these guys. But then I noticed he was selling pumpkins, and I told him I have a monopoly on that business, and I sent him on his way. Day 78, I went and did some more trading. I bought some shovels from the toolsmith to upgrade my own and to see what his next trades will be. I also bought more mending books while I was over there. And while upgrading my armor, I realized I had a new friend. He must have just walked through the portal. I decided to name him Mike. Somehow in the middle of all this, I became addicted to pumpkin farming. I don't really know how or why, but I did. Then I noticed the villagers had grown up, so I began the painful process of trying to get good trades from my librarians. But they got tired and went to bed. So I did too. Day 79, I continued the process until I got Unbreaking 2, Infinity, and Sharpness 5. Then I began the curing process on the villagers so I can make absolute bank off being their hero. Day 80, while running to my villagers, I noticed they were making me some more friends. How beautiful. Then I once again started curing the villagers. Yeah, I know, I'm a hero. I also had no idea why so many animals were getting in the villager area. I began curing one last time before the big trading hall. I bought a bunch of Unbreaking books along with a Sharpness 5 book to upgrade my sword. Day 81, I spent mostly just XP farming and tending to my pumpkin farm, which was getting massive at this point. I then decided it was time I set out and looked for a stronghold, so I found a horse, saddled up, and he was the slowest horse I've ever seen. So I went to bed and hoped for a better horse in the morning. I found a new horse and he was pretty fast, so off I went. Finally, I threw the ender eye, it went straight up, so I tied up the horse and dug straight down. I'm at the point in this hardcore adventure where I don't have any fear anymore, and by God's grace, I fell directly into the portal room. I set up my chest for when I come back and made my way back out. I made it back home without any issues the night of day 82. Day 83, I made 2 lecterns for 2 more librarians. Had a meeting with the cows about more leather for more books. Then I gathered more wood for some stick trading. Day 84, I traded my sticks for emeralds. Definitely a fair trade, I see nothing wrong with that. And I bought an infinity book, and went home and built myself a bow and arrow that I can use in the fight in the dragon. Then of course, back to pumpkin. Day 85, I wanted to make some last second improvements to the base and began clearing out some space for a trading hall. I marked out where it was going to go and then extended the path to the pumpkin farm. Now for one last time, I had to gather wood for a villager trading hall. I continued gathering wood through the day and night of day 86. And day 87, I cleared out some space for the structure, and then I hit the mines for cobblestone. Day 88 began with building, and I had a really good plan in my head that I wanted to follow. Initiate building montage. Then I realized I was going to have to move the villager pen because it was in my way, so using my massive brain, I just put them in a hole. In day 89, I continued building. And finally, on day 94, it was done. And I thought it looked pretty good. Well, except for the inside. I figure I'd worry about that later if I don't die to the dragon. I also just need a reason to take a break from building. Speaking of the dragon, I need to start preparing for the fight. Day 95, I began preparing and I made some rockets for when I get the elytra. And I made sure I had plenty of building blocks along with water buckets to help traverse the end. I then made some strength potions, not that I wasn't strong enough already, so I could flex in front of the dragon to show him who's the real boss. Then I set out. Oh, and I lost my horse, so I guess we're walking. I gathered the rest of my stuff and finished the portal. Prayed to God I didn't just waste the last 95 days and jumped in. And then with the help of the potions, I took down the dragon. I instantly got to work on some ender pearls to help me search the end. Then I built up the portal and jumped through. And I couldn't even explain how surprised I was to look up and see an end city and an end ship right next to me. The odds of that have to be like insanely low, but I didn't question it and I headed over. After almost being sent to outer space, I managed to get my hands on Elytra. I used it to fly to the end, beat up the locals, steal the gear, and get out of there. I returned on the night of day 98 and was able to see the sunset right from my doorstep. I spent some of day 99 upgrading my armor with the armor I got from the end city. Then of course I got back to my pumpkin form. I put some torches down to light it up. I decided I finished 100 days walking around my base. I had the old house that I once built and instantly regretted building it, then the farms that I wish I built bigger. And after that was a smelting tower, which was one of my favorite builds. Then of course our house, which was pretty much just a basement because that's all I used. On to the animal farms where I kept my beautiful animals and definitely never hurt them. And what had become my favorite part of the base, the pumpkin farm. It was just so addicting to farm pumpkins all day. And finally, the unfinished villager hall. The base really turned out great and I loved it. But now on to the next journey. I really hope to do this again in the future, and my goal for next time was to beat the dragon within the first 40 days and build somewhat of a mega base. I hope to see everyone there, and thanks for watching. Okay, are we done? I gotta go home and feed my dogs. Okay, cool. Peace out, guys.